For weeks, fans around the world were left in confusion. One morning, when millions of people opened their phones to check Can Yaman's latest post, his profile was gone. No photos, no stories, no trace of his life. The account that had once been filled with glamour, projects, and personal memories had vanished overnight. People were stunned. What could have happened? Why would one of the most followed, admired, and discussed actors in the Mediterranean world decide to erase himself from social media without a single warning? At first, rumors flooded the internet. Some said his account was hacked. Others believed it was part of a publicity strategy before a new project. But those who truly knew Can Yaman sensed something deeper. This wasn't a PR move. It was personal. For years, Can had shared almost everything with his fans. His journey from Erkenci Kast to Viola Kamayel Mer, from Turkish television to Italian fame, had all unfolded before millions of eyes. His Instagram was a diary of both triumph and transformation. Yet behind the dazzling smiles, designer suits, and romantic scenes, there were moments of exhaustion, frustration, and disappointment that few ever saw. The first real signs of trouble began months before the deletion. Observers noticed a change in his tone. His captions became shorter, less enthusiastic. He rarely replied to comments. Sometimes, he posted cryptic phrases, "Silence says more than words," or "Peace is priceless." Fans who paid attention could feel something shifting. It wasn't the same Can Yaman who once posted cheerful behind-the-scenes photos or shared his gym sessions with excitement. Something had broken. Then came the wave of online criticism. After every public appearance, Can's name would trend, not just because of admiration but also because of speculation. Who was he dating? Why did he unfollow a certain actress? Why wasn't he smiling as much in interviews? For every fan who celebrated him, there was another who tried to tear him down. The endless judgment, comparisons, and fabricated stories began to take a toll. According to people close to him, the breaking point came during his time in Italy earlier this year. While filming and juggling multiple projects, Can found himself under constant media surveillance. Every move, every word, every photo became a headline. When he went out to dinner, there were cameras. When he took a walk, there were whispers. Even his friendships were analyzed and twisted into narratives he didn't recognize. He's tired of living in a world where he can't even breathe without being watched, one insider said. The night before he deleted his account, he reportedly had a long conversation with someone very close to him, a trusted friend from his early days in Istanbul. They talked about fame, privacy, and the emotional cost of being constantly exposed. The friend later revealed, "Can told me he missed being invisible. He missed being himself." That sentence hit deeply. And so, sometime around midnight, Can made his decision. One by one, he removed everything, the photos, the stories, even the old posts that fans had cherished for years. When it was over, he pressed the final button, deactivate account. Just like that, the digital version of Can Yaman disappeared. The reaction was instant and global. Fans from Italy to Brazil, Turkey to Spain, filled Twitter and TikTok with messages of panic and heartbreak. "Can, come back. Are you okay? Don't leave us like this." Even major entertainment sites began reporting on the social media disappearance of the year. Some speculated that something dramatic had happened in his personal life. Others suggested he was preparing for a deep rebranding before launching his next series. But behind all the noise, the truth was simpler and more human. Can wasn't trying to make headlines. He was trying to find peace. In a world where celebrities are expected to be constantly visible, Can's silence became a statement. It was his way of saying, "I need to protect what's left of me." For years, he had been under pressure, to be perfect, to smile, to maintain an image. But fame, as dazzling as it seems, can also be isolating. People adore the image, not always the man behind it. Friends described that in the weeks following his disappearance, Can seemed more relaxed. He spent time traveling quietly, away from the spotlight. He reconnected with nature, read books, and focused on training and personal growth. For the first time in years, he could walk down a street without people trying to film him. And in those quiet moments, he found something he had been missing: balance. One Italian journalist who had worked with him on several occasions said, "Ken has always been professional and passionate, but you could tell he was carrying a weight. Too many people around him were trying to control his narrative. He needed to reclaim his story." And reclaim it he did. Weeks after his disappearance, Ken made a rare appearance during a private event in Rome. He didn't talk about social media. He simply thanked those who had supported him through the noise. He smiled genuinely, not for the cameras, but for himself. It was a different kind of Can Yaman, calmer, grounded, more real. Then came the message everyone had been waiting for. One evening, a new post appeared on a fresh account: no filters, no sponsors, no glamour. Just a single black and white photo of Can, with a short caption: "Sometimes, silence is the only way to be heard." That single sentence said everything. Fans flooded the comments with support. They understood. This wasn't a goodbye, it was a rebirth. Can had not left social media because he hated his fans, he left because he needed to find himself again. In doing so, he reminded millions of people around the world that even the strongest, most admired figures need space to breathe. Psychologists later discussed his decision as a powerful example of setting boundaries in the digital age. When someone like Can Yaman, who has millions of followers, chooses silence, it forces society to reflect, one expert said. It's a reminder that visibility is not the same as happiness. Of course, not everyone believed his disappearance was purely personal. Some tabloids insisted there were professional disagreements behind the scenes, tension between management, upcoming projects, and image control. But those close to him deny this. He wasn't running from anyone. He was running toward himself, one confidant explained. For years, Can Yaman has been a symbol of confidence, charisma, and strength. But in that moment, he showed something even more powerful: vulnerability. The courage to step back when the world demands that you stay loud. And that's why his return felt different. Fans noticed that even when he reappeared, he didn't post as frequently or as openly as before. Every photo seemed intentional. Every word, carefully chosen. It wasn't about feeding the algorithm anymore, it was about truth. In interviews that followed, when journalists tried to ask about his social media exit, Can simply smiled and said, "I needed a break from the noise." I think we all do sometimes. That quiet honesty struck a chord. Because in an industry where everything is curated, filtered, and exaggerated, his silence became the loudest statement of all. Today, months later, the echo of that decision still lingers. His followers admire him even more, not just for his looks or talent, but for his authenticity. He's no longer just a celebrity, he's a reminder that it's okay to disconnect, to heal, to protect your soul. Behind the fame, behind the lights of Venice, behind the red carpets and cameras, there's a man who once said, "I missed being invisible." And maybe, by stepping away from the digital spotlight, he finally found what he was searching for: peace, truth, and the freedom to be human again. Because sometimes, disappearing isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. And Can Yaman proved that when he vanished from social media, he wasn't walking away from his fans, he was walking toward himself.